He built the gym to escape violence. Then a biker gang came looking for blood. The front door of the gym shattered inward with a single kick. 7 men in leather jackets stepped through the smoke, helmets off, boots heavy, chains rattling. The smallest one spit on the floor and pointed at the logo on the wall. "Not your place anymore." Jax didn't flinch. He stood barefoot on the mat, wrapping his hands slow and steady, blood still dripping from the last round. His students had already fled out the back, but Jax stayed. He'd seen this before, years ago, different faces, same threat. He'd walked away from that life to build something better. A gym, yes, but more than that, a refuge, a second chance. Now they wanted to rip it apart. "Walk away," Jax said, voice low. They laughed. One stepped forward, cracked his knuckles. "You gonna stop us alone?" But Jax wasn't alone. A shadow moved in the back room. Quiet. Calm. Not. Another fighter, his daughter, 12 years old, barefoot, gloves on. Fury in her eyes. She didn't wait for permission. She stepped onto the mat. And as the gang moved in, Jax didn't stop her, because they hadn't just threatened his gym. They'd stepped into his past, and they had no idea what they'd just started. Jax never wanted to fight again. 10 years ago, he'd been the enforcer for a biker gang that didn't believe in rules, only control. He wasn't the loudest or meanest, but when things got ugly, they called him. He broke bones quietly, always with precision, never with joy. Then came the night he went too far. A debt collection turned into a bloodbath. And when the dust cleared, Jax looked at the damage and saw his daughter watching from a car window across the street. She was 3. He walked away that night and never looked back. He moved 2 towns over, changed his name, sold everything, opened a rundown gym with no mirrors, no music, just mats and sweat. He taught discipline, patience, control. He taught kids from broken homes how to stand up without striking first. But he never let his daughter spar, not once. She trained, she drilled, she watched. But the ring, that was where his ghosts lived, and he swore she'd never meet them, until now. Lately things had felt wrong. A new biker crew had been stirring up trouble nearby. Tattoos. He recognized symbols that used to mean something. He'd ignored them, told himself it wasn't his fight anymore. Then 2 men showed up at the gym asking questions about ownership, rent, protection. Jax smiled politely, said he didn't need protection. They left without a word. But now he knew it wasn't over. They'd tracked him down, not because of money, but because someone from the old crew remembered what he did, what he walked away from, and they didn't forgive that kind of thing. So when the doors burst open and that voice said, "This ain't your place anymore," Jax felt something deep and familiar click into place. He wasn't scared, he wasn't angry, he was clear, because behind him on the edge of the mat, his daughter stood taller than ever. Gloves laced, jaw tight. She hadn't just inherited his eyes or his stance. She'd inherited everything he fought to bury, and now he couldn't protect her from it anymore. He was already here. Jack stepped forward before his daughter could. He raised one hand, not in surrender but in warning. "This isn't a fight," he said. The lead biker smiled. "Sure it is, just not yours." Behind the gang, someone entered, slower, more deliberate. A man with a familiar gait, graying, beard, burned patch on the side of his neck. Jax froze. "Brick?" The man didn't answer, just walked toward the center of the gym, past the others, and stared at the logo on the wall. The one Jax painted by hand his first night there. "You made this place soft," Brick said. "Used to be you didn't train quitters." "I train survivors," Jax replied. Brick turned and tossed something on the ground. A patch. Torn. Weathered. The same one Jax had ripped off his own vest when he walked away from the gang. The one he thought he'd burned. Brick hadn't come to take the gym. He'd come to erase him, and worse, but he wasn't alone. 2 of Jax's former students stepped forward, pulling off hoodies. One of them was Theo, a quiet teen Jax once took in when no one else would. The other was Trent, who Jax had trained for years before letting him go for starting fights outside the gym. "I built this place," Jax said, voice tight. "No," Brick snapped. "We did, you just put your name on it." Mia stepped closer, fists up, but Jax held out an arm. "Not yet." Inside, everything spun. Jax thought he'd outrun his past. But now it wasn't just back. It had grown roots in the very place he thought was safe. He had taught these men, helped them stand. And now they were using his teachings to tear everything down. Brick pulled a chain from his belt, wrapped it around his fist. Let's settle this the old way. Jax's breath slowed, his knuckles cracked, and then a sound from the back room. Another door opened, more footsteps, but not from outside. 4 of Jax's youngest students walked out, quiet, focused, in full gear. They weren't running this time. Jax looked at them, then at Mia. Then he understood. This wasn't just his fight. The gym wasn't his to defend alone anymore. They had chosen to stand. And that changed everything. The gym held its breath. Jax stood in the center, muscles tense, eyes scanning the circle closing in around him. Chains rattled, boots thudded, voices low and dangerous. Brick grinned. Last chance, Jax. Walk away. Leave the gym. Leave your past buried. Jax's gaze flicked to Mia, her fists clenched, standing with the others behind her. Faces set, with determination. They weren't just kids anymore, they were fighters, ready to bleed. The choice was clear: run again and lose everything he rebuilt, or fight and risk losing even more. Brick stepped forward, swinging the chain. Jax moved, faster than expected. The air snapped as the chain cut through it. Jax caught the blow with his forearm, skin burning. The fight exploded. Mia lunged at the nearest biker, her small frame quick and sharp. The others joined, creating chaos. Jax fought Brick like he was battling the ghosts of his past. Each punch a memory, each block a regret. Suddenly, Brick's grip tightened on a knife, a flash of fear. Mia saw it, screamed a warning. Jax spun. Just in time. The blade grazed his shoulder, burning hot and deep. Blood spilled, pain stabbed through him. But it wasn't just the wound. It was the betrayal. Theo stepped forward, the quiet teen Jax trusted most, now wielding a crowbar, eyes cold. Sorry, Jax, this is our future. Everything shattered. Jax staggered. Mia screamed. The gang moved in. But then a roar from outside, the distant rumble of engines. Biker gang rivalries echoed in the streets. The sound grew louder. The first gang turned, faces twisting with alarm. The moment fractured. Jax saw his chance. Grabbing Mia, he sprinted toward the back exit. Behind them, chaos spiraled. The old world wasn't finished. But neither was he. Because sometimes, to survive you have to fall apart first. Jax and Mia crouched behind the rusted dumpster, breaths ragged, hearts pounding. The distant roar faded as rival gangs collided in the streets. Silence settled over the broken gym. Windows shattered, mats torn, memories scattered like ash. Jax touched his shoulder where the blade had cut deep. The pain was sharp, but nothing compared to the weight settling in his chest. Theo's betrayal wasn't just a broken trust. It was a fracture in the family he never thought he'd rebuild. Mia looked up at him, eyes fierce but uncertain. What now? Jax swallowed hard. He had lost control of the life he tried to build. The past was no longer a ghost in the shadows. It was alive, hungry, waiting. But as dawn crept over the horizon, light spilled across the cracked walls. A new day. A chance. He reached for Mia's hand. We start over. Different this time. Together. Behind them, the gym stood silent. Broken, but still standing. And in that silence, Jax knew one thing for sure. They weren't done fighting. Not yet. Not yet.